Good morning, everybody. Welcome to class today. Thank you for joining me. Whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, I appreciate you watching. Thank you for joining me today, everybody. So we are talking about targeting your audience today. So over the course of the last, of the first half of the course, basically, a lot of what we've been discussing has just primarily been finding an audience, knowing your platforms, finding your audience, being able to take your message to where your audience is. And today we're going to look at targeting your audience, and we're going to talk about that for a little bit. So I've got just a handful of slides here and a brief demonstration for us to look at this morning in terms of one thing that we can do to target an audience. And so one of the first things that we really need to ask ourselves the question about today is just, well, what exactly is targeting in this sense? When we're talking about targeting an audience like this, what do we mean? Right? What do we mean when we're talking about targeting an audience? And so when we're discussing social media targeting, we can really look at it from two perspectives, right? One is that we're going to target content to demographics that are utilizing our platform tools, right? So that's going to be our demo for today, right? I'm going to do it via Facebook, but YouTube and Twitter and any other platform, really, we can target content to demographics utilizing similar tools, right? Especially when we are given access to the enterprise or business suite of tools. The other perspective that we want to kind of look at, we'll look at this one more briefly today, is to target your writing and other content for audience appropriateness. So we're talking about using tools to make sure that our audience is receiving what we want them to receive, or the right audience is receiving what we want them to receive. And we want to target our writing to connect with that audience, to be appropriate for that audience. And so the first thing that I want to look at this morning is targeting tools. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn specifically provide robust targeting capabilities that enable publishers to define their reach. So you're able to reach certain demographics through the way that you use these targeting tools to target pools of people. So you're going to use these tools to define the reach of your content through a bevy of demographics. So we're talking about, age, gender, race, location, special interests, all sorts of different things. We can utilize these targeting tools to target specific groups of people. Right, and in general, to kind of cast the widest net, I will focus more on individual interests, the interest level categories. Because I know that, I have a good understanding that if certain people like certain things for a lot of what I do, some of the other more specific demographics don't really matter, right? If you have an interest in a certain area, then when it comes to the social media, marketing, and things of that nature that I provide, it's more universal as long as you have these certain interests. But you can target certain people groups. You can look at all sorts of different stuff through these targeting tools. Most social media networks can allow you to do this, but you're going to have to do it in different ways. Right, you're going to have to target your audience in different ways, and that's when we're looking more at the second part, the second perspective there of what I was discussing, which is writing and creating graphics and visuals that connect with and are appropriate to your audience, right? Like you can kind of think of them like a YouTube thumbnail, for example. If you have a serious looking YouTube thumbnail, you're trying to connect with a different audience than if you have a bright, colorful, playful YouTube thumbnail. Right? But most publishers, most social networks allow you to apply some level of targeting or custom visibility to organic posts. And the one I want us to look at specifically this morning is Facebook. Facebook. So we're actually going to look at an example, and we're going to do an example with Facebook here in just a moment so we can actually see the targeting in person. And one of the things that would be interesting is if we... So go ahead and reveal what the demo is. I right before I started the stream this morning, I made a post to a Facebook page that I have admin access to. We'll see it in just a few minutes. Some of you might be familiar with it. And I'm going to boost that post, and I'm going to target the boost as our demonstration for today. And it might be interesting for when we come back next week to look at the analytics on that post, because I believe that's what we're talking about next week as well, is that we're talking about analytics. So we're talking about using the information that we get back from this targeting to analyze and see how well we did. So I think that would be pretty interesting. But Facebook in particular, the Facebook news feed, it's crowded. Right? You know, when your average person has, over 100 friends on Facebook, I believe, and all these people are posting multiple times a day, and it's all kind of getting curated and put into an individual's feed. There's a lot of competition for interest. There's a lot of competition for space. And we want to try to end around that in a lot of scenarios, right? We want to try to make it to where we don't have to deal with a lot of that competition. And so that's where using these targeted algorithms can really help us, right? Because this Facebook algorithm that we're dealing with, the way that Facebook has determined their problem-solving criteria in order to suggest posts to people, to ensure what people see versus what they kind of move into a secondary feed, that sort of thing. Since that's changing all the time, being able to get our reach out there, ensuring a healthy reach, can really feel like a constant battle, right? It feels like it's something that we're always having to kind of deal with, tweak, and change. So if we utilize the targeting features in Facebook, we can see the criteria here that they are working with. These being interests, gender, relationship status, educational status, age, location, and language. Right, we can see these different targeting criteria that Facebook is working with, and we can use them accordingly to target a post a little bit better. And so here's a screenshot of what this kind of looks like, but we'll see a real example here in just a moment. And so this is an advertisement that's been made, and in this instance, we've dealt with a smart audience, right, which is an interesting feature of Facebook. A smart audience will use the Facebook targeting algorithm to sort of understand what people normally like, who might like something like this, and fill in the audience details accordingly. So we can use this smart audience. Might be easy on us as we're getting started. But if we really know our audience like we say we do, we should be able to craft our own audience details to ensure that the right people see our post. So let's look at an example. Let me grab my example here and pull it over. I'm on the Cleveland Community College Information Technology Academic Department Facebook page here. I have admin access to this. And I made a post. here about returning student registration. That's beginning March 27th. So if you don't know about our Facebook page, go give that a follow, right? And if you don't know about returning student registration, now you do. And so I posted this advertisement here. You can see I posted it 12 minutes ago there on the details. It's a little bit of text here with the graphic. One of the things that we see a lot is that people respond to graphics. So, it's always useful to include a graphic with a post. But we also want a little bit of searchable text for content. That's going to help the Facebook algorithm because text in a picture is not always OCRable. But if we have text in the content of the item as well, that's going to help out a lot in terms of getting picked up. Another thing that you see here is that I included hashtags. Hashtags on Facebook help different things get found. So I used Yeti Nation, CCCIT, and education here for this. And so I'm going to click here to boost this post. And that will basically take this post and turn it into sort of a quasi-ad. We'll change it here to learn more. And we'll point people to the registration page. And so that's our call to action. So when we have a call to action, what that call to action is doing is it's moving people down the funnel. So having people see the graphic, it's going to raise the awareness. Once they click for registration there, that's going to bring more attention, driving people down the funnel here. And here is our targeting. So we see it's starting off with advantage audience, which is the automatically done one. But if we look here, like these suggestions are kind of weird. So I'm going to select people you choose through targeting here. And we're going to target this ourselves. So I'm going to click on the little pencil there to target it. So the first thing that it's going to ask me about is gender, all gender here. Men, women, all. Because anybody can come register for classes, be in the CCCIT programs, no big deal. Age. So this is returning students. So I'm going to take and I'm going to have the bottom age is 18. I'm going to take this top age from 65 plus, and I'm going to narrow it down just a little bit. I'm going to take it down to 50 here. So that's going to cover the majority of our older student populations. It's also going to cover parents of younger students who might see the post, might get it brought up into their feed without overreaching. Right, because if we're sharing this with 70 and 80-year-olds, they, that's a waste of money, basically, right? Because we're not going to get any return on investment for that. So we want to narrow down our age range here to be more in line with the age range of the students that we serve. If I wanted to be exact on it, I was actually talking to the marketing department here at the college yesterday. And the age range in general that they try to market toward is 24 to 48, I believe, or might have been 24 to 46, something like that, which I thought was quite interesting. We're going to go 18 to 50 here for our purposes, and we're going to look at, and now we're going to look at locations, right? So, United States plus 25 miles. That's too broad, right? Unless they are in Cleveland County, North Carolina. So we'll do Cleveland County plus 25 miles. So that'll get Gaston, that'll get a good chunk of Catawba, that'll get a good chunk of Cherokee County, right? So any students in surrounding counties can come as well, right? But we've taken that United States plus 25 miles, narrowed it right down in to the Cleveland Community College service area here, which is Cleveland County plus a little bit of the periphery. And again, this is all about making sure that relevant people see it, right? Because we could blast it out there to the whole country, but people from all across the country, people from Colorado probably aren't, they probably don't need to register as a returning student at CCC. So it's not relevant to them. But if you are in Cleveland County, it might be. And if we go into detailed targeting here, this is where we're targeting those special interests. So let's target Cleveland Community College. And so if we just type in Cleveland Community College here, we can get some demographics here. For example, we can see in college as a demographic. So if I'm advertising to returning students, I might be looking for students in college in Cleveland County. So I can add that in there. Let's try community college. We'll add community college here in interests. So it's community college and in college. So they're in college and their interests are community college. And they live in Cleveland County. So there's a high degree of likelihood that they go to Cleveland Community College or maybe one of the surrounding colleges, since we have that plus 25. That's sort of a thing that Facebook does there. If we wanted to get a little more specific, we can. Like we can get right on in here and find the college area specifically, which is like right here. Drop a pin. And so if we drop a pin right on the college there and we say, okay, in the college plus 25 miles, we can see the overlap of those regions, right? So we can see sort of the Venn diagram there of Cleveland County plus 25 miles and the college specifically plus 25 miles. So one of the things that I can do here is I can run this down a little bit. So I'm going to go college plus 20, Cleveland County plus 25. So we get a little bit, you can see we get a little bit more coverage here around the Clover area. Just where these overlap different. Just an interesting way to handle it. Now, since this is specifically information technology, we might also want to search information technology. Computers and electronics. And so it tells us our audience size, or our potential audience size, down here at the bottom. So when it comes to individuals, 18 to 35, or 18 to 50 rather, in college, community college, with interest in IT, it's estimating an audience size of 30,000 to 40,000. That doesn't sound right, but we will take it and go forward with it. And so that's really all we need here, right? So we will save this audience. And so that's my audience. And then once we save that, we see a more likely number that this boost will reach, right? Between 373 to a little over 1,000. That sounds a little more likely, right? In a county that has roughly 98,000 people in it, it must have just not been updating that number to say 43,000, right? That would mean that over half of the county would be in college and probably in a community college. So probably unlikely there. So let's set this so we can set it for a duration. I want to set it to end. I want to set it to end next Thursday. So we can have all of the data in, and I'm going to put a budget on it. I'm going to budget it at $10. So I'm going to run a little $10 boost between today and next Thursday, so all the numbers will be in before next Friday, so we can go and see them. It's giving me some estimates here. So it's giving me a reach and a number of clicks. So if all of this works out, we should see a pretty decent return on investment here. I don't need to use my MCO pixel there. And we can boost it. And there we go. But this just gives us a good view of what we would do for demographics and how we would work with that. From here, you'd use the ad center to track the engagement. And so you can see this one here is the one that I did last spring with the class. It was similar. It was a register now post versus a returning student registration. And it got 263 leads. We'll see if we do any better this time. So that's a good example of that. Let's talk briefly about how else to target. Because one of the things that you'll notice that I did there was I spent money on that. I put $10 on it. Right? $10, not a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things. Right? Especially if you can get some conversions. But I spent $10 on that post to get it boosted and get it targeted. And, that's one of the things that we can do. But if we're putting promotional dollars behind it, then ideally we need to have a budget, right? And so while that can be really effective and work really well, I mean, there's still a possibility for subjectivity. And paying for every social media post like that just isn't sustainable. Right? I mean, you can maybe do it a couple times a month. Right? If I were to take 2, maybe 3 posts a month and put $5 to $10 on them to try to grow a bit of an audience, might be able to do that. Might not. So what we'd rather do once we started kind of working in that direction would be starting to adjust our content creation style to meet our audience. Let's talk about how we do that really quickly here. So we want to be able to adapt our writing. And there are 5 big things that we can do to adapt our writing. One is to add information readers need to understand your document. Whatever that is, right? So when we're talking about a document here, it sounds like document, but what it could just be is a tweet. We want to see if there's any information that's missing that's important. For example, a critical instruction, important background information, any sort of important information that maybe should be included in a post or in a document that's been left out. So in order to make room for that, we need to make sure that we omit information that our readers don't need. Right? If it's fluff, it doesn't need to be in an important post. Not every post that we make on social media has to be serious and important. Right? Some of them can be fun and frivolous and just having a good time with your community. But if it's an important post where we're wanting to convey specific information, we want to make sure that we're getting the information in there that our readers need, our audience needs, and that we are omitting information that they don't need. That way, we're respecting our audience's time, they're able to understand the message in a more clear manner, and everything works well. Also, we want to change the level of the information that we currently have. You might have the right information, but it might be pitched too high or too low to a specific technical level. Right? Like if I was trying to gain an audience of beginner programmers, for example, but all I ever talked about was like super high level programming concepts, all those beginner programmers I want to reach are not going to get the reach that I want to see. It's not going to work. Right? And vice versa, right? If I'm looking for high level and all I ever talk about is just basic low level stuff, they're not getting it. You want your audience to be able to get something out of it. Add examples to help readers to understand. So don't just say things, right? Do a little demonstration. Add an example. That's why we did the demo today, right? We were adding a demo, adding an example to help you understand. And we can change the levels of our examples based on changing the level of the information, right? We give higher level audiences higher level examples. Lower level technically audiences, lower level examples. And we can reach more people that way. So that brings us to some scenarios that we can utilize to help adapt our writing style. One is to posting regional content, such as location-specific promotions or events. Right? So when I targeted in an area there, I was targeting specifically to the Cleveland Community College area, service area. But if I start promoting a lot of local businesses as well, right, that's going to change the way these algorithms kind of look at these posts. And it's going to see the address and it's going to see people's addresses. And, people in your area will suggest things to you. Or get these things suggested to them, I should say, rather. So, if we're posting regionally specific content because we want to meet an audience in our region, we're going to start to see more of those have the ability to find us. A/B testing the popularity of a product in a specific location. Right? So an A/B test in general is just taking two similar things and just kind of testing them out in the field to see what's preferred. Right? We could try this with posting styles. A lot of people do it with YouTube videos, actually. There is a whole website. Let me pull it up here. Where their whole entire business model is about A/B testing thumbnails on YouTube, and it's called TubeBuddy. Excuse me, it's called TubeBuddy there. And so TubeBuddy works with your YouTube account, your API, gives you the ability to A/B test different thumbnails, run different thumbnails for different times, run different titles for different times. And it gives you some results based on your A/B test, right? You can see which one that people preferred out of the two thumbnails. And so that can give you more insights into what your audience responds to. So if you have one thumbnail that gets a higher click-through rate than the other thumbnail, then you know that you can start making thumbnails in that sort of way. But that's kind of similar to boosting posts, though, because that costs money, right? On a month-to-month basis, it's $6 a month for the pro account, which, if you were making your living on social media, it would probably be worth it. But if you were just doing it as a side thing to try to promote something, that might not be worth it, right? Publishing translated posts to targeted subsets of a global audience is a great one. And, a lot of this always will, we tend to keep going back to, good things that say Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson does, right? Because this is one of the areas where he has really succeeded, as he started to have separate channels where he's hired voice actors to translate and dub over his videos. And he's reached an entirely new audience he never had the opportunity to reach before because of that. Right? So, with the understanding that not everybody speaks English, putting out some translated posts in some other languages can not only help you in a global audience, but it could also help you in or with a local audience, right? What if, just around here we put a post or two out in Spanish every now and then, promoting some different things, right? What could be the outcomes coming out of that? A lot of potential there. And so that's just all some stuff to think about as we are thinking about targeting our audience. We'll give that post a week and see how well it does. It'll be interesting to see. But that's all that I really have for you for today. I like to keep these a little bit shorter, so we'll go ahead and wrap up here. If anybody here's in the chat with me today, they have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, if you have any questions later on, contact me on email, contact me on Teams, let me know. But that's all that I have for you for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.